to sponsor education is against, is inimical to growth and development. For governments to invest in education, health, and social services. But last year, when trillions of dollars were taken from the public purse and channeled towards bailing out ailing institutions in the West, IMF and the World Bank never raised a voice. And that is why we must, when we are discussing how to reorganize our society, we must insist on the role of the government, because under Section 14 of the Nigerian Constitution, it is stated, the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. It is only by ensuring that the security and welfare of our people remains the primary purpose of government that you are not going to have tenant governors and tenant presidents. And the Constitution is so clear on this. It has said that the material resources of the nation shall be harnessed and distributed as best as possible for the common good, not privatized by a few and cornered by a few to the detriment of the society. Furthermore, the Nigerian state, this is not a socialist state, a welfare state, is required to direct its policy towards ensuring that suitable and adequate shelter, suitable and adequate food, reasonable minimum wage, living wage, old age care and pensions, and unemployment, sick benefits, and welfare of the disabled are provided for all citizens. These are the provisions of our Constitution. But what the Nigerian governing class, members of the governing class have done, is to make these provisions of the Constitution not justiciable, not enforceable. Therefore, the justice of our situation requires that the dichotomy between political and civil rights and socio-economic rights is removed, so that the large majority of our people can enjoy their rights, can have access to those good things of life that we, the elite, are enjoying. And if we fail to respond very quickly, we may continue to deceive ourselves by having our private estates, have our roads and security, water and telephones, and educate our children at home and abroad, while the children of the poor that we ignore in a country that talks of justice have now become armed robbers, kidnappers, and the rest of them. And the earlier we see the contradictions in this wonderful country that is rich in human and natural resources, and redress the imbalance in our society, we're not going to get things properly done. When we talk of justice in Nigeria, we only talk of legal justice like lawyers. And that is justice as defined by the courts. Judicial definition of justice is misleading. Therefore, if we want to talk of justice, you must talk of social justice, or what some other people regard as distributive justice. Because without talking of social justice, and that is the way the members of the society perceive of justice. If you say I have freedom of expression and I'm an illiterate, how do I enjoy the freedom? If you say I have the right to life, fundamental right, beautiful, and I'm hungry, I'm sick, I cannot go to the hospital, my right to life is meaningless. If I'm detained illegally, my learned friend, Professor Shiba, just told us that he was in Abuja today to make a case for somebody charged with treason. Courtesy of Ashwaju. Many Nigerians are languishing in custody without anybody to make a case for them. Yet they are deserving of justice. What do we do to ensure that we set the society, set new standards for the society? And that reminds me of an experiencer. We were once charged with treason by a military dictator. Gani, myself, the late Dr. Bekoran Kuti. We had no access to lawyers. And so the two of us stood for ourselves and our colleagues. Gani, as usual, told the judge that the man who should be standing trial for treason is in Aso Rock. And that was Babangida then. When it was my turn to make my submissions, I asked the court clerk to read the charge. He said, anybody who forms an intention to remove the president of his country during his term of office, otherwise than by constitutional means, shall be guilty of treasonable felony. And I said, my lord, Babangida has no fixed term of office. It could not be removed otherwise than by constitutional means, because it didn't come in through constitutional means. And therefore, that law was not meant for a military dictator. I think the government was not prepared for a fight. They simply abandoned the case and let us off on that occasion. Now, talking about justice in our country, of course, the rule of law simply defined is rule according to law. Laws that are clearly defined by the government or the legislator, and laws that can be interpreted by the court. But in any country where the judiciary is destroyed, you are simply inviting anarchy and chaos. And here I will need to address the reckless attacks that have been recently directed at the judiciary of this country. And I will just mention a few of the cases. Since 2007, over 200 appeals have gone to the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. It's only in 4 instances that the Court of Appeal has ruled in favor of the appellants, where governors have been asked to be sworn in because they were rigged out of office. In the case of Bayelsa, Silva, and Imoke of Cross River State, the Court of Appeal came to the irresistible conclusion that there was no election in both states on 14th of April 2007 because the INEC and the governors could not produce a single unit of a result. They just simply wrote the result, and that was the conclusion of the Court of Appeal. But instead of asking them not to contest the election, the court generously allowed them, to take part in the rerun elections, and they won. And it has happened in a few other states like Delta. Somebody has been in office for 3.5 years illegally. They now have the temerity to tell the rest of us that they want to spend extra 4 years. It is so immoral, it is so illegal and unjust. So if we are talking of justice, we must find out whether a law can reward fraud. And it is totally against the principle of law. It is like 2 students, 2 undergraduates. One burned the midnight oil and passed his exam very well. He's promoted to the next class. The other one cheated. Ordinarily, he should have been expelled. But because of a lot of considerations, he's allowed to rewrite the exam. If he passes the exam by way of receipt, he can only join his colleague. He cannot be given double promotion. And that is what these governors are asking for. A Fashola in Lagos conducted good elections, and is going to spend 4 years in office. Why those who rig elections will spend 7.5 years? Oh, of course, it is totally unacceptable. Now, the one that you'll be interested in are the cases of Osun and Ekiti State, and Ondo as well. In Ondo State, both the election petitioner, Dr. Segun Mimiko, and the first respondent, Dr. Segun Agagu, pleaded. They told the court they were going to rely on the report of the State Security Service, compiled independently of them. The reports were not produced by the State Security Service on the instruction of President Olusegun Obasanjo then. But one way or the other, we got the report. Well, don't worry about that. And we tendered the report by consent. Neither the tribunal nor the Court of Appeal